the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, left King Faisal Specialist Hospital in Riyadh after recovery. Last week, King Salman underwent a successful surgery that removed his gallbladder. Surgeons operated on the king, describing the procedure as a laparoscopic surgery. The World Health Organization lauded the measures taken by Saudi Arabia to protect Hajj pilgrims amid the coronavirus pandemic. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus congratulated the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the steps it has put in place to make the Hajj as safe as possible this year. He added, "The pandemic does not mean life has to stop. They must all learn to live with the virus and take the steps necessary to live their lives while protecting ourselves and others, especially those at the highest risk of COVID-19. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said he wants to delist Sudan as a state sponsor of terrorism, seeing a historic opportunity in its civilian transition. Pompeo has repeatedly indicated that the State Department hopes to remove the designation, which severely impedes investment to Sudan, but disputes have arisen on a compensation package over the 1998 bombing of two U.S. embassies. Pompeo told the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that legislation on a settlement should come before Congress in the very near term. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said his country will make every effort to maximize compensation for a Ukrainian jet shot down by Iran on January 8th. But talks with Tehran, which began on Thursday, will not be easy. Iranian forces say they downed the Ukrainian International Airlines Boeing 737 jet after mistaking it for a missile at a time when tensions with the United States has risen. All 176 people on board, including 57 Canadians, were killed. An international team has started examining the black box flight recorders from the plane. US President Donald Trump is for the first time publicly floating a delay to the November 3rd presidential election as he makes unsubstantiated allegations that increased mail-in voting will result in fraud. The date of the presidential election, the Tuesday after the first Monday in November in every fourth year, is enshrined in federal law and would require an act of Congress to change, including agreement from the Democratic-controlled House of Representatives. The Constitution makes no provisions for a delay in the end of Trump's term, noon on January 20th of 2021, the Associated Press reported. Saudi efforts have resulted in an executive mechanism to accelerate the Riyadh Agreement signed between the Yemeni internationally recognized government and the Southern Transitional Council. The two parties announced their approval of the mechanism in a move likely to reunite the ranks of the Yemenis to confront the Iranian agenda and its Houthi proxies. Saudi Deputy Defense Minister Prince Khalid bin Salman clarified that the efforts spearheaded by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman have resulted in the Yemeni government and the STC agreeing to the proposed executive mechanism by Saudi Arabia to accelerate the implementation of the Riyadh Agreement with the aim of achieving peace and stability in Yemen. The U.S. Congress has renewed pressure on Hezbollah as a number of Democratic and Republican legislators are seeking to revive the imposition of conditions on military aid to the Lebanese army. In this context, the Foreign Affairs Committee in the House of Representatives has approved a bill entitled Facing Hezbollah in Lebanon. Moreover, the project called on the U.S. president to provide evidence that the Lebanese army has not cooperated with Hezbollah or participated in joint activities or training during the past year. Amnesty International warned that nearly 2,000 children freed from the grips of the IS in recent years are still trapped by psychological and physical trauma. Amnesty said access to education could help ease children back into society, but tens of thousands of children still live in displacement camps where schooling is irregular. Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli announced that Egypt has achieved remarkable positive economic indications despite the novel coronavirus pandemic. Medlili urged Egyptians to continue to adhere to all precautions, including maintaining social distance and wearing face masks in crowded places. He asserted that Ministers of Interior and Transportation must implement the decision of the Coronavirus Crisis Management Committee, including wearing face masks while using public transportation and inside of government departments and other facilities. Former Nissan executive Greg Kelly, who was arrested in connection with the financial scandal of his ex-boss Carlos Ghosn, will soon face trial in a Tokyo court. Tokyo Deputy Chief Prosecutor Hiroshi Yamamoto said Thursday the trial of Kelly and Nissan Motor Company, a defendant in the same trial as the company, will start September 15th. The European Union slapped sanctions on 6 people and 3 organizations, including Russia's military intelligence agency, accusing them of responsibility for several cyber attacks that threatened EU interests. EU headquarters said in a statement that those targeted include people considered to be involved in the 2017 WannaCry ransomware attack, the NotPetya strike that notably caused havoc in Ukraine, and the Operation Cloudhopper hacking campaign. The sanctions are the first that the EU has ever imposed for cyber attacks. The number of infections from the COVID-19 disease in Iran has reached 301,530. There were 226 deaths from the new coronavirus in the past 48 hours. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani urged people to observe health protocols and practice social distancing during Eid al-Adha, as a health official said there had been a surge in coronavirus infections in the major city. Indonesia and the UAE announced the creation of a temporary travel corridor to allow business and diplomatic trips to take place in relation to one of the Southeast Asian countries' biggest investment deals. The agreement was reached by Indonesian Minister of Foreign Affairs Retno Marsudi and her Emirati counterpart Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan on Wednesday evening. During a visit to Abu Dhabi in January, Indonesian President Joko Widodo secured energy, infrastructure and agriculture investments worth $22.9 billion in what has officially been described as the biggest trade deal in the country's history. British Asians have expressed fear that they are being scapegoated for a rise in coronavirus disease infections in the UK as millions of the country's Muslims prepare to celebrate Eid al-Adha. This is coupled with added risk when considering British Asians are more likely to work in people-facing jobs such as healthcare or as bus and taxi drivers. China's Huawei has overtaken Samsung to become the #1 smartphone seller worldwide in the second quarter on the back of strong domestic demand. Industry tracker Canalys said the embattled firm, which is facing US sanctions and falling overseas sales, shipped 55.8 million devices, overtaking Samsung for the first time, which shifted 53.7 million units. The findings marked the first quarter in 9 years that a company other than Samsung or Apple has led the market. Tunisian Parliament Speaker Rachid Ghannouchi, the leader of the Islamist Ennahda movement, scraped through a motion of no confidence on the 133 lawmakers out of a total of 217 in the parliament attended the session. A no-confidence motion to remove the Speaker from his post in the Tunisian Parliament requires an absolute majority vote of 109 votes from a total of 217 lawmakers.